What is going on, YouTube people? Neo Cards and Comics here for a tradition unlike any other. The NFL regular season has came to an end, and it is time to look back. As I frequently say, really since the start of the channel, sell your football at the National. Do not carry it in the season. It is very tough for most football cards to go up and through the season. Now, obviously, playoffs start later today. I am recording this on Friday evening. Go Browns. A lot can change in the playoffs. Prices could fluctuate, but this is just a general kind of just show you if you bought late summer and said to the moon, this guy's going to take me to the moon, and held into or throughout the season, kind of where you would sit right now, and just kind of a very macro level look at the football market as a whole. So if you like an old school charts and graphs video, pull up a chair, grab a coffee. This one is for you. Diving into market movers. If you want to play around with your own charts and graphs, link is in the description down below. Pretty good promo code running right now. If you want to check it out, it's down there. First up, we're going to lead off with the QB index, market pulse. This is something that we've been looking at sporadically throughout the entire season. For all these charts, I am going back 180 days. That takes us back to mid-July, just before the National. What this shows is a grouping of optic hollows and field level silvers for the 4 years I have selected: 2017, 2018, 2020, and 2021. As you can see, the general trend overall is throughout the summer, it stayed flat. The later we got into the season, the more and more stuff went down. The outlier on that is 2018. There are three reasons for that: Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Baker Mayfield. Baker stuff's actually ticked up decently. Lamar is the big carrier of that upward swing. And Josh Allen, for the most part, is actually flat to down slightly. Some stuff's up slightly. But the other ones got absolutely hammered. 2021 down 62% as a class. Once again, this is quarterbacks only. 2020 down 40%. 2018 up 25%. 2017, which is Mahomes and Watson, down 31%. Most of that being Watson. Most Mahomes stuff is flat to slightly down. So that kind of gives you the overall macro picture. Let's look at some individual cards. The going up. This is Prism Silver PSA 10, rookie card only. So this covers most of the guys. You're not going to get your Aaron Rodgers. You're not going to get your Staffords. You're not going to get your Flaccos, that sort of stuff. We'll talk about a few of those players here in a minute. But your modern to ultra modern guys. The leader in the clubhouse, no surprise, Brock Purdy, up 85%. Was $500 in the summer, is $950 now. Second place, surprising, Tyreek Hill, position player, was $150. Now it's up to $300. Obviously had a fantastic season. Tua, up 27%, up $140, 510 to 650. This card was up way more during the season. You had an opportunity to get out of this one. In the mid-season, this got close to $800-900. It was right there along with Purdy as two of the biggest risers in the mid-season. And then the Dolphins kind of slowed down and fell apart. We see Aaron Donald on this list. Josh Dobbs obviously had that legendary run for a hot minute. Now, one of these is not sold for a couple months since he went on that run. If one sold today, this card would probably be flat in the red. Christian McCaffrey, we'll talk more about him in a little bit. Deebo Samuel up a decent amount, 50, almost 60%. TJ Watt up about 60%. The thing I want you to take notice of, and I seem like I say this all the time on these particular price movement charts, we're only a few cards deep, maybe 8 or 9 cards deep, and the dollar amount up is only $50-60. Now the percents are high. A 65% increase, you take that all day. $80 in, $135 out. On a nice defensive player there on TJ Watt, we got Myles Garrett right underneath that with a 40% increase. Jarrett Stidham, of all people. Khalil Mack, Aaron Jones. Now, you see very quickly, we're at the bottom of this page. This is 20 cards, and the increase is $17. That's a problem. That shows you right there pretty much everything you need to know. Let's look at the red side. Buckle up, kids. Josh Allen, number 1, going down. This is got a big asterisk next to it. One of these is not sold since September. This is his PSA 10 Silver Prism. There's only 26 of these on the pop. So asterisk next to that one. Let's just pretend that one's not there for the purposes of this. Trevor Lawrence. One is not sold since early December. I would have to imagine the next one would go lower. That card is down 50%. Joe Burrow down 40%. That's an $850 drop. Justin Herbert down 40%, $700 drop. Lamar Jackson, this is his Silver Prism. One of these is not sold for over a month. If one of these sold today, I have a feeling it would probably be in the green. His Optic Hollow and Field Level Silver and some of that stuff that transacts more often is in the green. Jalen Hurts, strong start to the season, and then kind of got turnover happy. The Eagles seems a very interesting place. I'm actually rooting for Baker Mayfield on Monday night. Down 40% coming off his Super Bowl. Travis Kelce, 2013 Prism, down 33%. Justin Fields down 50%. Mac Jones down 85%. Ritter, Justin Jefferson, Watson. Once again, we get to the bottom of this list, 20 deep, and what do we see here? 20 deep, we're still dropping in the over $100 in value. On the going up, we were only going up 20. That's Kyle Trask. They're down 80%. Remember when Kyle Trask was a thing for a hot minute? Saquon down, Derek Carr down. Amon St. Brown down 40%. Had a great year. That's kind of what we're going to talk about, I think, next. Yes, next. So I cherry picked out a couple players that actually had really good seasons that you would expect to have been on the going up that really weren't. First on the list, Dak Prescott. Now, this narrative could change. We could be looking at these again in a month, and maybe this card is to the moon. Because this actually seems pretty reasonably priced for his PSA 10 Silver at $200. And the Cowboys are potentially poised to make a little run here. That's only up 12%. Now, I paid attention to this one throughout the year. This actually got pretty cheap in season. So back at the National, it was around $175. It went down quite a bit in season. You could have bought in season for like $100, $125. And now it is back up to even. So his late season surge brought that card back to even. Jordan Love. Packers have been on fire to close out the season. He is dead flat. Now, he had a lot of offseason hype on him. Same thing here. His stuff went down in season and then bounced back up because they actually had a pretty rough start to the year and then kind of really turned it on late. Same thing with him. You know, if they win and move on and, you know, go on a little run or something, his stuff's obviously going to go crazy. My boy, flack around and find out. Wacko for Flacco, everybody. Let's freaking go. Topps Chrome Refractor PSA 10 up 155%. I just threw him on this list because there was really just nowhere else great to put him. Obviously an amazing run for Flacco. I wish I grabbed a Flacco card in hindsight now. I don't have anything. If they win this weekend, FOMO's probably going to get me. I should probably just snag something on ComC prior to the game just in case. Patrick Mahomes, flat. They've had a very up and down season. We'll see what happens with them tomorrow. I think they'll get past the Dolphins. I don't like the current state of that Miami team. Silver PSA 10, like I said, down 2.8%. Basically flat. His stuff's essentially been flat. We'll see what happens if they get bounced from the playoffs in the first round or two. Here's two guys that had fantastic seasons that you would have think would have went up more. Christian McCaffrey, only up 36%. Amazing year. CeeDee Lamb, only up 14%. Also had an amazing year. His stuff is reasonably priced. You would assume his stuff would have went up way more. If I would have told you to guess like what position player, what wide receiver had a monster price increase, a lot of people probably would have said CeeDee. Has not gone up at all, which is surprising given the fan base that the Cowboys have, that both Dak and CeeDee Lamb are on this list. Let's look at a couple guys that have absolutely tanked. Some of the biggest losers of the season. We got Mac Jones towards the top of the list, down 86%. $225 in the summer, now down to $30 for his PSA 10. I'm surprised it's that much. Desmond Ritter, Jeff Wilson's boy, was the same price, 225-ish bucks in the summer, down to $35. Deshaun Watson, 270 down to $80 in a PSA 10. That is a 70% decrease. I said this in the summer. It's going to get me again. Massage tables aside, that one's intriguing. The Browns are obviously a very, very, very good football team. He was 5-1. It was a shaky 5-1. And I have to imagine they're going to give him the reins back next year. So we'll see what happens with all that. Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert, we talked about already. Percentage-wise, they're not down as much, but people probably lost more money on them than anybody else because of the high price points that go in. And then last but not least, Justin Fields. Another intriguing one. Actually closed the season kind of strong. Will they keep him? Will they trade him? That'll be something to follow throughout the offseason. If he got dealt to, the Falcons, I've heard Bill Simmons talk about that. If he would get traded to the Falcons, that would be intriguing given all their offensive weapons and a new coach coming on board. But he was $600 in the preseason, now down to $300, a 52% drop on him. I'll give a shout out to Simon Cards here. I've mentioned him before on the channel. He did a fun video on the idea that I had about how much money have people lost collectively on the ultra modern football market, and the numbers were staggering. I'll have you go check out his video if you want the details on that. He did 2 of them actually on that subject. But this is why I say it. You should be buying the guys that you want now, the non-playoff guys. This is your time. Everyone's going to be chasing the playoff guys. Go find those diamonds in the rough that you like, and it could even just be someone as simple as Joe Burrow. Pick that stuff up now and sit on it through the summer, and then at the National, exit, or around, if you're not going to the National, that late summer period, around the 4th of July into August, that's your off-ramp. Especially, now, there's an asterisk next to this, and it is, if the player that you're holding has any sort of expectations built into them at all, in my humble opinion, just move off of it. We have seen this cycle rinse and repeat year after year. If it's a project player, that's a little bit of a different story. If you were, the biggest Jake Browning fan in the world and you had tons of his stuff, that's a little bit of a different story. If you have your other backup quarterback flavor of the week that you like, let's say Trey Lance is dirt cheap right now. Let's say you're buying Trey Lance RPAs, Silver Prisms, whatever, in the hopes that the Cowboys release him and he signs somewhere else, or something happens to Dak, or whatever the case might be. That's different. Your initial investment is next to nothing. You want to hold those guys in the season to see if something happens to spike the value and exit out of them. What you don't want to be doing is holding the 3K Joe Burrow Prism Silver PSA 10s. That's where things get dangerous. There's so much built into those prices. It is so hard for them to maintain. This cycle continues to repeat itself. One day I feel like people will figure it out, but today is not that day. That's all I got for you, boys and girls. Catch you on the next one. Peace.